Oh, yeah, yeah, I'm here. What's happening? Hi, everybody, and welcome to Pete Thorn Sunday Live. I think it's 218, number 218. RCKX sent me a super chat right out of the gate. What's happening? Thanks, man. Appreciate that. What happened this week? I made a video for a compressor pedal. Here it is right here. And that was fun because it sounds really good. The honeycomb from Carl Martin. I like the way that they're doing their pedals now, like the, what do we call it? The design. It's cool. Um, it's just like a nice update and just simple, and I don't know, it's classy, looks cool. I dig it. 9 volts, but bumped up to 12 internally for that nice high headroom Carl Martin expensive compressor sound. Anyways, that was fun. Learning a bunch of songs for a gig. I didn't get a hell of a lot else done this week on video stuff, but I was supposed to make this other video for a cool guitar, but didn't get the guitar this week, so that's gonna happen next week, I think. And it's all happening. But anyways, what else? What else is going on? I don't know. Let's see what's going on in the chat. I'm at a loss. Here's one. I learned something useful about music equipment and quite a few other aspects about music and being a musician every time I listen to your show. Thanks. Hopefully I can, and thank you for the super chat, the fellow that sent it. Hopefully I can offer up something interesting this week once I get properly caffeinated. Did a little experimentation with amps this week, and amps are so funny. It's such a recipe, like the circuit of amps. Every single stage leading to each stage, and it's just always still fun for me to try experimenting with things and switching caps in and out, stuff like that, and listening to what they do to the sound. That happened this week. That was fun. Oh, I know what to tell you. Something that I've been doing this week. I have it right here on the floor. I've got, well, I don't have to show you. It's the Quad Cortex with a Moog expression pedal. And I'm using them 4-cable with that PT100 that's right there. And so it's actually really, like, is it 4-cable or is it 3? I guess it's 4-cable. It is 4-cable. Just mono 4-cable. And it works perfectly with no ground loops or anything. I plugged it in and adds a little bit of hiss in the front end of the PT100 on the gain channels, but it's digital and all digital things seem to do that. I put a gate, the adaptive gate is the name of the gate that I used, internally in the quad. In front of the amp, not quite. It's fine. It's not like, it's really great that there's no ground loops or anything like that. And it sounds really good. I'm using the mix loop, and the PT100 has a series parallel switchable effects loop. So I put it in parallel, and then I'm doing the reverb delay on some of these patches that I'm making, and running them, of course, 100% wet in the quad because I've got the mixer in the PT100 then. And then I just turn up the level of the delay or whatever, using a gain block in the quad to get delay, get reverb sent into the loop and return. And yeah, anyway, sounds great. And the MIDI was so easy to set up too. You can easily do MIDI per scene. So if you're in a scene within the Quad Cortex presets, scenes, so you can switch in and out different effects without changing presets. It's really easy with each scene to store both MIDI CC as well as program change. So I'm just using program change to change the channels on the amp. That's it. And it just works perfectly. So nice little tiny, this big. You can make a little pedal board with one expression pedal on the quad in it and use it with the amp. That's nice. Been fun. Works well. Ben Coombs is here. What's up, man? Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hip Metalworks is out there on Vancouver Island. He says hello. I like that place. It's a nice place. Okay. Let's see. Looking through the chat here. What happened to the intro song? Says my knees hurt. I was gonna work on that this week too, but that just didn't come together. I'm gonna have real drums on it and stuff. I'm gonna try and get it together this week. Maybe I'll work on that a little bit later today, actually. It's going to take me 30 seconds to do once I get going on it. It's not a big deal. If I've got a drum track, then I can do the rest in like, yeah, well, not 30 seconds, but probably 20 minutes. Yes. Then I need to make a cool video though. That's the only thing. The video will take longer. So I have an idea for the video. Yeah. John says that the compressor song had a cool Joe vibe at the beginning. Yeah, I was going for that kind of almost, I guess, Fix kind of guitar part. The Fix, the band, the Fix. And then doing the, what we call dingleberries. Staccato little parts. Put some dingleberries on it. Yeah. How do you set up the Sunset Sound reverb with your guitar and Logic for that first Van Halen tune? Do you take a stereo aux, send to the reverb, and pan right? Yeah, you do. But the reality is, I don't. Brian Kehoe made a point to me a while ago. He said, I don't think the reverb's really panned. He says, I just think the dry signal's really strong in the left channel, and then the reverb's, I mean, maybe it was panned a little bit, but it's certainly not all the way. It's not like dry in one side and then reverb in the other side. So your mileage may vary. You can experiment, but try panning it maybe 1 or 2 o'clock or something. But that's it. Leaving it somewhat centered, and that does sound right. There's still some reverb with the guitar in the right channel. And the funny thing about the reverb, and of course this makes sense, but no two songs are the same when you listen to Van Halen with the, many times the tones as well as the reverb amount, and so it all changes per song. Obviously Don was in there mixing and just kind of riding a little more reverb on this one or whatever. So the pan and all that could have changed too, I guess, if there was some. So there's a sort of basic formula to that sound, but then variations on never mind in between records for sure, that, but also in between songs. Yeah. Mike Burns is listening to the show while he does his business. That's what he says. By that I mean, I think he's in the John. What else we got here? Is my gig still secret? Which gig? Which gig was that? I can't remember which gig I brought up. Sorry. Cheers from Calgary, says Peter Urban. Good to see you here. Let's see. What else we got here? Somebody says, oh, my knees hurt, says that I always make him buy gear that he doesn't need. Well, it's fun though, you're gonna have toys, right? Okay, I'm just about to put together a DAW, says Jay Cameron. Is that James Cameron? Did you ride a submersible to the bottom of the sea and see the Titanic? Anyways, sorry, I digress. Put together a DAW on a Mac Pro. Do you have any recommendations for software? Well, I use Logic. I heard somebody the other day say they really like that Studio One, I think, from PreSonus. That was interesting to me because it was a, obviously somewhat experienced engineer and stuff, and he said he's really enjoying it. So I always thought, oh, it's going to be the kind of the entry level PreSonus, DAW to just get into, recording. But anyway, I guess he really likes it. So just the flow of it and stuff. I'm a longtime Logic user. I'm happy basically with Logic. The thing about Logic is that, I don't know, like, I can't confess to know what Pro Tools comes with now, but back when I got into Logic, Pro Tools, here's the reason why I went with Logic. Pro Tools didn't run very well as a native program. It was basically, so in other words, using the power on your computer. Everybody, that was a professional user of Pro Tools, going back, 15 years, 20 years, they were on what was called a TDM rig. And so the interfaces or whatever, they had the processing power in them, and that's what Pro Tools ran on. And it didn't use the native power in your computer. Now, as computers got more and more and more powerful, audio almost became like, well, it's like word processing now. It's like you don't really need like pretty much any run-of-the-mill Mac. You can run you can get 24 tracks going and some plugins and stuff, and not worry about running out of processing power. So as that happened, and native programs, like Logic, and became more, they could compete more with Pro Tools and TDM rigs. Back in the day, it's just like the native Pro Tools, which was, everybody bought an M box, that blue Pro Tools interface, and then they came out with kind of a rack one after that. whatever they called that interface. I can't remember. But anyways, the Pro Tools native, it was called Pro Tools LE, I think, or something. It just didn't. I got it, and I got the M box, and I tried it, and I could get like maybe 12 tracks of stuff going on my 2004 laptop of the day, Mac laptop, and add a few plugins, and then I was out of juice. I couldn't do anything else. I thought, this kind of sucks. Like, I can't really. It's like, I can't really do much more than I would be able to do on like a Porta Studio or something, with the processing power that my Mac had. And somebody said, you should get a Logic. It runs way better. You can do way more stuff. And it comes with a full suite of plugins, like something like 75 plugins or something it came with back then, all kinds of stuff, everything that you could want. Pro Tools came with a few plugins, basic compressors and EQs and a basic one reverb. And, Logic was like a full suite of stuff, including soft synths and like all kinds of, just tons of stuff. And it did run a lot smoother as a native program. So I got Logic, and I just never looked back. I learned it, and that was it. It just made sense to me. And I think that's what happened to a lot of people, back then, and what grew Logic in popularity. So anyways, I just find it really easy to use. Now, I also sometimes in the last couple of years have used Luna, which is the UA DAW, and quite enjoyed it. It sounds really good with its built-in Neve summing and API summing, and so that you can sum your tracks down to through this sort of virtual analog sounding stuff. And it also has built-in tape sim and some really cool things for people that appreciate kind of warm and crunchy rock and roll recording, I guess. It's really nice for that stuff. I really like it, but the majority of the time I'm still in Logic. So anyways, what's the best way, this is from Braxall, to capture an amp on the QC without a cab? So the QC is the quad Cortex. And what Braxall means by capture is doing the kind of like the Kemper profiling process, but the quad Cortex version, where you take the sound of a thing, an amp, a pedal, a gain pedal, something, and put it in the quad Cortex and save it as a capture so you can use it within the quad. So the easiest way to do it is a reactive load. You really need a good load box. There's other ways to do it. You can use a line out box in conjunction with using a cab as a load. So let's just start with the first way. Let's say you've got a SUR reactive load. What you want to do is, you're going to plug your guitar into the quad. You plug the appropriate send out of the quad into the front of the amp. You're going to then take let's say you want to dial in the sound first before you capture it on the amp. You're going to then take the speaker out of the head into, let's say the SUR reactive load, and then take the speaker simulated out of the reactive load into your monitors and listen to it, dial in a sound, get a good sound, or dial in the head into a cab, just play through the cab, listen to it, get a great sound without the reactive load even involved, right? Okay, so you get your gain levels and your tone controls and everything on the amp set where you want. Okay, now you want to make what's called a direct capture of that amp, but with no speaker involved. Why would you want to do that? Well, then you can take that amp head virtually, put it inside the quad, and then you could add some speaker simulation in the quad via a cabinet block or an impulse response. And in theory, you're going to get the sound of the amp through a cab, similar. So once you've got the amp dialed into the levels and the tone and everything where you want it, now you can just forget about the cabinet. Let's take the reactive load. You're going to take the speaker out of the head into the reactive load, and then you're going to take the unfiltered out of the reactive load. That's important. Unless you want to make a capture with the IR, which you can do, but sorry, I digress. Take the unfiltered out of the reactive load, and you're going to run that line level output back into the quad, into the appropriate input. Okay, now what it's going to do is when you do the capture process, it's going to play its tones and everything that it does out through the amplifier. It's going to go into the reactive load. The load is loading down the amplifier properly, and then that unfiltered line out is going back into the quad and making the capture. So that's how you do that. Now, there's other ways to do that without a reactive load, but like I say, then you need to take a tap off that speaker out signal of the amplifier, and you still need to load the amp, obviously, with something, which is probably going to be a cabinet. So you could use something like the SUR line out box for that. Just takes a tap off the line out of the amp off the speaker out of the amp, going into the cabinet, converts it into a line level signal and takes that into the quad. So that's a way you can do it too. I know that's probably confusing as hell to a lot of people out there, but in practice, it's pretty simple once you plug it all in. When are you coming back to In Stuff for a clinic? I did a fun clinic there, 2019. That was cool. I really liked that store. It was great. I'll have to develop some sort of new clinic, something new and exciting. You know, maybe, who knows? Maybe I can do some around this new guitar that I've got coming. You know, that would be fun. But I don't have an answer as to when. Eric says, hope things are going well with you. Thank you very much. I hope things are good with you too. I've got a super chat there I'm going to grab because I'm a little behind here. I'm getting long-winded as usual. Philip, thanks for the super chat. You're awesome. Struggling with dialing in your rig for humbuckers and switching to Strat, Telly, or Rick, and of course volume gain structure drops. Any on-the-fly tips for volume compensation on the board? You can use something like a Seymour Duncan pickup booster, or any clean boost, really. You know, if you want to raise the level of your single coil guitars a little bit when you're playing them. You know, something like, once again, a Sir Coco boost or a MXR microamp is the obvious one. Any kind of clean booster. But you know, I favor sort of PAFE output humbuckers, and I like single coils that are with some nuts. You know, I like, generally speaking, like more 6-point-something K, you know, single coils. So I try and appreciate the differences in the guitars, and that's why I use them. The volume levels don't really bother me. If you're going from something like a Stratty single coil to like a 13K, you know, hot, you know, a JB or something, it's going to be a huge difference, you know, in volume. But you know, that's how I've done it. Just what I gravitate towards is sort of, generally speaking, lower or, you know, at most medium output pickups. And I like, but you know, I should say, I sort of like hotter single coils on the hot side with the singles, and then on the weaker side with the humbuckers, and that pulls them all more into it. When I first got my Yeren Les Paul replica, the pickups were so, you know, kind of, they're on the underwound side, really. 8.3 for the bridge with an Alnico 4 magnet. It's like not a strong output pickup, and the neck is at 7-point-something, I think. Got a great clear sound. And I found I could go between that guitar and my old 60s Strat playing live. I was with Miller Etheridge at the time. I remember when I got it. And I remember I could go between the two guitars without feeling like I needed to, you know, change the controls on the amp or something. So that's a part of it. But really, the only thing you can do is boost the singles. You know, if you're finding they're low compared to the humbucker, and then dial in your amp to taste, kind of, you know. And if you do that, you can get them with something like that was the purpose of the Seymour Duncan pickup booster. That was the purpose of that pedal. So let's see. From Phil, how do you keep things mentally and physically fit on the road? It can be a challenge. I walk a lot, man. When I travel, when I was just in Vancouver a little bit ago, I walked 10 miles a day, and I also biked one day like 7 miles. So, and I'm not like a super fitness nerd or anything. I just love walking in cities. I love getting out and walking. There's probably some people here that met me walking around in places. And when I go to, you know, do my gigs in like Paris or Tokyo or whatever, I wear pairs of shoes out. I love it. I love just getting out, and I'm kind of a loner, so I like getting out and doing that stuff alone and walking around and just discovering stuff like food to eat in different neighborhoods. You know, I got to the point where in a city like Tokyo, which was, you know, seems like so confusing when you first get there and overwhelming, and really fun because it's like this magical kind of, you know, lit up place, but it's like very like, you don't know where you are when you get up, you know, you dropped off at some hotel and you're in the middle of this metropolis. I got to the point where I was there so many times that I knew a good solid, at least I would say 1/3 of that city. I figured out how the neighborhood's all interconnected by walking. And I would be like, you know, I'd walk miles and miles and miles. I'd be in one neighborhood, and then I'd walk like for, you know, an hour and a half. I go, oh my God, I know where I am. I'm in this other neighborhood now. And I figured out how they connected, you know, just through, and I love that feeling of like, kind of figured out a foreign place. And then you start to feel like you own it, like it's part of you a little bit or something. Not you own it, you know what I mean? But you're like, you feel like you live there a little bit or something. I love that feeling, like being in another country, spending enough time there, walking around enough where it starts to feel like a part of you. That's what I mean, like you're not just a visitor or passing through. It's like, I kind of, I get it, through being there and stuff, and making friends and stuff, and going so in like restaurants and things, you meet people and then you see the same faces, and I love that familiarity of stuff. So that's my way of staying fit, I guess, is just doing a hell of a lot of walking. If hotels, and they sometimes do, if they have bikes, I'll borrow one of those and go on a bike ride. I really like biking, so it's kind of my thing. And if I'm in a tropical place, I'm going to be in the ocean 3 times a day at least, so I like swimming too. I used to go to the gym a lot when I was like, not a lot, but 3 times a week, 4 times a week. When I had one, I lived in a building that had one. I really enjoyed that. I'm not a crazy workout guy, but I would do like 40 minutes on the treadmill and do 2 sets of weights or whatever. Just like I would do that 3-4 times a week. So when you're on the road, if there's gyms and hotels, you can do that too. But you're eating lots of random food and stuff, so it's like it can be tough to and you're moving around, so it's like hard to keep a schedule sometimes with that kind of stuff. You just have to apply yourself, I guess. Funny, Britt Bowman was just out on the road, and she has a Planet Fitness subscription, and which I guess is like cheap. It's like $20 a month, and I guess there's Planet Fitness everywhere. And she works out a lot, and she would go. She said like to these Planet Fitness places first thing in the morning. She'd find one and go there. Just go. And it takes dedication, but you just go do it. So that's a tip, I guess, is at least in the U.S. these Planet Fitness with these low price subscriptions, and you can use any of them anywhere. So yeah. Okay, let's see. Great acquisition this week. Steven got a Marshall Handwire Diagonal 212. That's cool. Those have Heritage G12H30s, I think, in there. I'll take a look in there and see, but that's a nice cabinet, and it's really similar to the cab that we designed for the PT15. Really similar, as far as the dimensions and stuff like that, materials. Studio One Pro is sort of designed to be, this is that PreSonus DAW, a pleasure for ex-Pro Tools users. That's what I heard. Like the key commands are the same and stuff. That's interesting. Lauren says it's got real attention given to the needs of guitar players. That's cool. Haven't checked it out, but that's awesome. Okay, what else we got here? Will Toby the cat ever be making an appearance on a live stream? I hope so. Let's take a look at Toby the cat just for 1 second here. Who wants to see Toby the cat? I know you guys don't care, but come on. See, there he is. He's a good boy. He is. He's a good boy. Sorry. Keep on Toby mode there for a minute. Good boy. He's such a good boy. All right. You all do that to your pets. I know you do. Becky's watching from England. Let's see. Who was inspiration for what you've accomplished so far? God, that's got so many people have inspired me over the years. I mean, the first guy that came to mind was Eddie Van Halen, but teachers I've had, over the years, my friend Brian Hughes, Terry McDade, they were all really inspiring to me. My teachers were really inspiring to me in Edmonton because I saw that it was possible to be a professional musician, like do what you love for a living at a really early age. When I was like 13 or 12 or 13, 14, you think, oh, you see people that disconnect. The world wasn't so connected back then. I mean, with the internet and everything, it was like, I live in Edmonton, but there's these people on TV that play guitar, and it's like, wow, that's amazing. And you could go to a concert, at the local whatever, but it wasn't, it wasn't like people from my hometown. I didn't have the wherewithal or I just wasn't aware that like, oh, there's people in my town that not on that level maybe, but they're like playing gigs and they're like teaching lessons and they're doing things and they're making a living. They own a home. Wow. They're like professional musicians that aren't necessarily, playing the Enormo Dome or whatever. So to see that, it made it more, I was like, oh, okay, it's possible to do something, for a living that you really enjoy, and it's accessible, even if I'm just living here in my hometown. So that was really inspirational for me, I guess. And then I decided to move away anyway and try and take it to the wall in Los Angeles. But anyways, okay, what else we got here? Let's see. There's another super chat up there. I'm going to grab that in just a second. We're seeing lots of questions here back in the chat. I don't want to miss these. I've been studying music theory to help me with my writing after 12 years of just playing blind. Got any tips for organizing riffs and ideas? That's a great question. I'm not the most organized, to be honest, man. I mean, riffs and ideas. If you say you got a bunch of files named by key and BPM, I tend to use Transcribe software for practice. I brought it up before. It's a nice phrase trainer sort of software. And when I make files, like Transcribe, it stores as like an XCS or XSC file or something. It's their own file format. When you pull a MP3 or a wave into Transcribe or whatever, and you get it in there, and then you can loop sections, you can store loop points when you're practicing over things and stuff. And so, anyways, it's a nice software for doing stuff like this and having riffs and or songs that you're working on. And I'll within Transcribe's main folder, I'll then store subfolders of like when I was working on all these Van Halen songs to play the Van Halen theme gig. I've got a whole folder of, just for that Van Halen, whatever. And then I had like within that folder, subfolders of like jam tracks with no guitar, live versions, the album versions, whatever. And I could store them all like that. So Transcribe worked well for me for that. But I guess you could do that kind of file hierarchy with anything, even just in Finder on a Mac or something, with just wave files or something. It's just being diligent about naming things. And, I guess you could save them by date or by musical style or by, like genre, or like you say, I mean, you're even doing key and BPM. That's interesting. So I don't do that. But yeah, whatever kind of makes sense, I guess. Wanted to ask, as a Marshall aficionado, when someone asks about a Marshall Plexi, which model do you have in mind? That's coming from, oh God, my eyes suck, man. Mikael. Am I saying your name right? I hope so. When I think of Marshall Plexi, I mean, for me, it's like, 68, 69, 67, 68, 69 lead spec, either 50 or 100. That's my favorite, 12 series Plexi. That's what I think of. People use that term Plexi pretty loosely, but obviously it means a metal panel, not a metal panel Marshall, or not a JCM 800, not the Plexi thing. It's just the amps that had the Plexi panel. They switched to the metal panel by mid '69 or late '69. Started using the metal faceplates, and the amp didn't really. They changed, but even there's variation between '67 and '68 to mid '69 Plexi panel Marshalls. So Plexi is such a the JTM 45s had Plexi panels, right? So when people say a Plexi, I generally think they're talking about a lead spec like 68, the Eddie Van Halen amp, basically. But that could mean, I guess, to a different person, a JTM 45. I usually see people say Plexi when they're referring to lead spec, or bass, I guess, super bass or super lead, but not JTM 45s. They generally say JTM 45 when they're talking about that, because it's such a different amp, really. There's a lot of similarities, but different output tubes and tube rectified and all that kind of stuff. It's a pretty different sounding amplifier. So, anyways, yeah, I think 68 or 69 sort of lead or bass spec. 67, 68, 69 lead or bass spec. Yeah. Kathy says she's amazed at my depth of knowledge. I don't know. I know very little about most of the world and just about this one little thing. I'm amazed when people are like trilingual and stuff. That's what blows me away. But thank you. I appreciate that. Have you considered writing a book? I don't know what I would write about, but yeah, I would love to do a book on something eventually, maybe all this kind of stuff that we talk about here, it'd be nice to do a collaborative book, actually, with a few friends. And that's kind of been done. There was a book that came out a while ago, and I'm forgetting the name of it now, by Curtis Fronadely. Oh God, I'm not gonna say his name right. Sorry. And it was called. I believe I have it in the bathroom here. I need to go check. It was called Tone something or other. God, I'm doing really well here today. My depth of knowledge is, my memory is like a sieve. But anyways, Tone something or other. It was all about like it was. He interviewed me, John Sir, Dave Friedman, and then like a whole bunch of different amp designers and some musicians and stuff. And it was all about. He had a whole bunch of great questions and stuff, and just about rigs and tone and. So we kind of did that a while ago overall, but it would be nice to do that, I guess, on my own, something. To be honest, I mean, I did so many columns for Premier Guitar, and my part of my deal was, I believe, I probably signed away the rights to those. You know, they own them. But there was years of columns that I wrote for them, and each one is 800 words, you know, at least, if not 850. So there's so much there, and I feel like I remember when Steve Morse did years and years and years of columns for Guitar Player, and I bought it. They came out with a book of all of his columns in a book. You know, that could come out just like, you know, I wouldn't have any rights to it, I don't think, you know, but that it was all kind of in there. I mean, I wrote about everything I could possibly think about over a period of like 5 years of writing columns for them. Think about that. It was like 12 a year. It was literally 5 years of, you know, there's like so much in there and so, you know, to kind of do it all again, I don't know. But I guess if I wanted to, you know, like I said, I think they own the columns. So anyways, you mentioned a little while ago your VG strap stopped working. If you clean the contacts in the power pack and the battery cavity, it may come back to life. That's a good idea, ZSX. Yeah, I never had it looked at, like it could be just that corrosion or something. I should just have a tech look at it because it was a useful guitar. This is my Roland, you know, Strat that has the like 12-string baritone, nylon string, all kinds of those sort of modeled sounds in it. And I haven't used the guitar in years because it just stopped working one day. I just couldn't get it to, you know, the output of the. I guess I can just take it to Roland. I know those folks. Just give it to them to see if they can fix it. But anyways, one of these days I'll get it going. It was useful for certain sounds, you know. I thought it's a really cool tool to have around, you know, for getting quick things. I need a nylon string really fast. Do I have it? Do I want to mic it? I can just grab this thing. If it's just like you're doubling a part or something, you want a nylon string sound, it works great. I'm all about tools and getting things done. Doesn't have to be, you know, the greatest. It just has to be legit, you know, like, it sounds pretty good in passing, you know, and it more than does that, I think. Looking for great sounding analog delay, says Rick. The best one on the face of the earth to me is the Sir that Kevin designed, the Discovery delay. It's incredible. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. It's really mind blowing. And you know, it's got 99 memory locations, and you can use expression pedal with it, map all kinds of things, and it does beautiful paddy kind of, you know, endless feedback stuff where he's just spent a lot of time, you know, working on the tapers of the pots, and then also like it's some limiting and stuff going on so that when it starts to regenerate, it doesn't take off and blow up your amp. It does it in a really beautiful controlled way, so you can make these kind of soundscapey parts, and it's just really cool. And the mod in it sounds great. But so that's kind of my favorite, to be honest. There's a lot of others out there. The Carbon Copy, you know, is probably the best selling one in the world. I mean, obviously Memory Man, but everybody got a Carbon Copy, I think. There's the various variations of Carbon Copy. There's the, you know, Carbon Copy Bright, I think, and you know, there's a dual one, isn't there? I think maybe one of the Tap. I can't remember. Anyways, you know, but the Sir is on, I believe, just kind of another level as far as the sonics of it and stuff. I think it's the best sounding analog delay that's been made. So, okay, moving down in the chat. Let's see. Bummed my Super Champ lost a 6v6 tube, says Rando Jams. Why now? Well, it happens. You know, get some more going. There's JJs out there. They're good, real reliable. If you want a more like kind of, you can look for NOS, I guess, or I think the PS Vane folks. that Chinese company that's making tubes, and they have a 66, I do believe. You might have to hunt, but they're out there. You'll probably see more of them soon. In the quad Cortex, do you do a mix of scene, and can you do a mix of scene and stomp modes, like snapshots and stomp? I don't know that. I'd have to get back to you on that. I don't think so. I think it's one or the other. These are the modes he's talking about. Are in the quad Cortex, you can have 3 different modes: a preset mode where hitting the buttons will change from one preset to another; stomp mode where the buttons can turn off and on effects within a preset; and scene mode where one button push to the next button push can turn on and off multiple different things within a preset. That makes sense. So, which is how I've been using it. I've been using it in scene mode, not in stomp. And then I'll just I'll make song presets in it. So every song has a preset, and then the switches change from scene to scene so that I can get various combinations of effects going kind of in a logical order. Here's my sound for the beginning. Here's my sound for the chorus. Here's my sound for the solo. That type of thing. But yeah, I haven't seen that there's a way to, or I know what you mean. You can organize the helix in the way that you want. So the top row becomes could be scenes, and then the bottom row can be individual stomps. Probably you might be able to do that, and I just don't know. I don't think so, but it would seem like something that they could easily do in probably a future software update as well. Could be, maybe you can already do it. Anyways, I want to buy an EVH combo, says VS. I have to choose the 112 50 watt or the iconic new one. I cannot choose. What do I think? I like that iconic amp. I thought it sounded good. It's a nice price, that's for sure, and it did have a good sound. So maybe I like the rawness of it. It had this raw character to the sound. I only played it once, but I liked it. Had a true clean channel that sounded quite good, and then the distortion had this raw, a little bit. I want to say less compressed or less gain. It just was a little more vintage sounding or something. I don't know if that's just. I didn't A/B it with the regular ones, the ones that have been out for a while before the iconic. But having heard it, I was like, this sounds pretty cool. So maybe it sounds good. Try the iconic. There's going to be guys out there that know more about it than me. I mean, I think Ola did extensive videos on the iconic. Maybe you can watch those on the combo and stuff. See what you think. It's hard to make a wrong. I mean, it sounds good, It's like back when we were buying amps back in the 80s or whatever, it was there's nothing that sounded that gainy and raw and with a clean channel like that. I mean, I guess there was some mesas and stuff, but it's hard to make a bad. There's so much good stuff out there now, to be honest, Hard to make a bad choice. Back when I was a kid, it was like a PV Bandit or a Laney AOR tube combo or something. That was what you were gonna, Now you've got all these. It's just advanced so far. Northern Matt says, I just want to thank you for the great content and music. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. And your Helix still sounds great in 2022. The Helix is great, man. It's a really good, super solid piece of gear. Yeah. Okay. Moving through the chat. I'm gonna actually head down to the bottom of the chat, but for the fellow that was looking for a way to balance pickup volumes, Jeff here says he uses a Dunlop preamp as a cut for pickup balance. Set up below unity gain on the humbuckers, turn it off as single coils. You could do that. I mean, okay, here's one thing that I did even in the quad for some of these presets I'm making for a gig. In the quad Cortex, I use a gain block sometimes in front of, and I've done this before, using a gain block in front of the dirty channel of my amp and dropping the gain down minus 15 dB or something. It'd be the equivalent of rolling your guitar volume down to 5, but when the way that I'm doing this in the quad, making scenes and presets, I can hit that scene, it kicks in that gain block, also MIDI switches the amp from the clean to the dirty channel, and now I've got a kind of a low gain dirt sound. at the perfect volume that I can preset without having to roll the volume down on the guitar. So there's different ways to do this, but yeah, preamp pedal that you can drop below unity. A lot of them are just, start at unity and then you boost, right? The boost pedals. But if you can find one where you can cut, that's interesting. For sure, for balancing volumes of pickups. Big Boss says this is great content. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. We got 350 people online. Nice to have you all here. Tell your friend. Tell them to come back. Tell them to come here for the first time. Tell them it's fun. Sunday mornings. It's our guitar church. Let's see. What else we got here? Would you bother upgrading a 2010 Gibson Faded SG? Is the wood good enough? I'm sure it's probably, if the guitar sounds good acoustically and resonates, it's, if it sounds dead to you, then maybe not. But if it's a good resonant guitar, it should sound good with different pickups in it, I was talking to a very famous guitar player the other day, and he said that his favorite guitar as of late is a melody maker that he put a P90 in. It sounds amazing. Like, it's just like all you could want, And I'm like, well, it's basically a Les Paul Jr. at that point. And he said, yeah, but the thin body, they are really quite thin, So, but just whatever, whatever works. Friedman recently got a Fender road-worn Strat. They're made in Mexico, and the guitar is so loud and resonant. It's amazing, how loud it is. So it can be luck of the draw, But as long as the thing sounds good to you acoustically, if it resonates with you, sorry, I did that. I went there. Then it should sound good with good pickups and electronics. You might want to replace all the electronics and the pickups, because the electronics are probably sketch. You say you're putting CTS in it. I'm not a real big fan of CTS lately. The pots just kind of went so downhill and noisy and scratchy and suck. But it's hard to find good pots for stuff that's out there. The Dunlop Super Pot or the EVH pots, I find that they stay clean, longer. The way they feel is a little different, but the CTS is like, I don't know what the hell, man. They all go bad within a couple months. They just do. Sorry, CTS, but step up your game. I'm a little tired of getting, brand new pots and 2 months later, garbage, crap. Don't like it. Carla says, "Hey Pete, you are a good guitar player. Respects." Thanks, man. I appreciate that. Paul Daskell says, "New guitar, silver sexiness." It's right back there on the chair, somewhere there, right there. There it is. I love that thing. Fun guitar. Here's a why did I say it like that? Here's a super chat from John Funk. Follow up for community using guitar for bass loop tracks from 2 weeks ago. Got the SY300. Fantastic for adding other instrument tracks to loops. More cash than octave pedal, but worth it. Cool. So this is is this an octave shift pedal, John? Follow up for community using guitar for bass loop tracks. I see. So this octave shifts your guitar down an octave so that you can just play a quasi bass part, right? That's cool, man. Thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. And here's another one. Rich says, "When I walk through a city, all the streets are mean. I see the same old faces and I hear that same old talk. And I'm looking for the latest thing, breaking the routine and talking some new kicks. Ones like you ain't never seen. This is home." Oh, it worked. You sucked me into your Van Halen vortex. From Seed to Shatter says, "Have you ever wrote a riff and realized it was a song? And your brain tricked you to think you wrote it?" Yeah. And like other people have pointed it out too, where that happens almost all the time. Now, when I write a demo, they're like, "Oh, it's this song that you're doing a ode to whatever, some song." And I'm like, "Yeah, I never heard that song." Or maybe I heard it and got in there and then came out in the form of another riff 8 years later, But I think that happens to all of us at this point. There's only 12 notes, so you can only rearrange them in so many ways, which I guess is pretty much infinite, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Just wondered what your opinion was on the JCM 2000 DSL. Actually, I have to say that I played through one recently, and I think they're really quite good. It's got a usable clean channel. The crunch sound is pretty cool, and the drive sound is better than I remembered. Actually, better than I remembered. In playing through one recently, it sounded just fine. Good, solid sounding amp. So I had one in a 50 watt in the early 2000s, and that was really my only gigging amp. I mean, I had my top hat too around the same time. Both top hats, I guess, actually the AC30 style one, and then the Amplexador. But the Marshall was easily rentable. You could get it at backline companies. So I knew and it had a clean channel, so I could AB, and that worked for gigs I was doing back then. So it was just easy to rent. So it was like, well, if I use this, then when we got to fly out and do fly dates, or I got to go to New York and do TV or something, I know I'm going to be able to get one. If I use the top hat, I'm not going to be able to get one. It's a boutique. So why don't I just dial in my sounds, with something that's easy to find, easy to get? They have them everywhere. Now, even when I say that, it's like I think back and JCM 900s would still show up. You'd specify a 2000 DSL on the rider, and then you'd get there and there'd be a JCM 900 dual reverb. Whatever. You just do the gig, you make the same money, you cash the check, nobody gets hurt, everything's fine. I digress. Have you tried Logic with M1? Any noticeable benefits? Well, so I'm on my old studio computer now, which is an old iMac that is kind of top of the line for 2016, but getting old now. The new computer I got is a M1 full-blown laptop, 10 core, 32 gig RAM, crazy, the whole deal. So I've used it on that. I don't know about benefits. To be honest, it still opens, I think, in Rosetta, which is like where I don't think it's running to its full potential yet, because a lot of plugins and programs and stuff like that aren't quite M1 compatible. So every time Apple comes out with something new, I mean, I really feel for these companies like Apogee and UA and all the plugin companies. And every time Apple's doing a new thing, you constantly need to keep upgrading your software and hardware. It's just the ports thing, man, with Apple. That drives me crazy, Like, oh, let's make the power connector on the new one just a slightly different size so that your old power adapter won't work if you've got an extra one that you paid $80 for your old computer. Stuff like that. And the constant updating of the USB, or Thunderbolt, I should say, like Thunderbolt 2, Thunderbolt 3, Thunderbolt 4. Does it really need to be any friggin' faster? Like, it's like lightning fast. It's like now you need to, I've got all these, like, they're $50 each, the Thunderbolt 2 to 3 or 2 to 4 adapter, and they don't make cables. You got to buy this stupid adapter from Apple. I've got 2 here, and then I've ordered another one, a third one that I just got at home, actually, because my interfaces, one of them has Thunderbolt 4, the other one's Thunderbolt 3. My one at home is Thunderbolt 2. Sorry, this is Thunderbolt 4. The other one here is Thunderbolt 2, and then the one I have at home is Thunderbolt 2. So I needed the 2 to 4 adapter. You guys don't care about this. I'm going to lose viewers if I keep talking about this garbage. This is as boring as it gets. But anyways, that stuff drives me crazy. So anyway, long story short, M1 I don't think it's fully like ready for or I should say the software and the interfaces and stuff. All these companies are still catching up. So probably in another few months it'll all be there, but. My color grading software for video editing, they've got a new build I need to download and beta for them. But like, I made a video a few weeks ago on the new computer, and I tried to color grade, and it all went crazy and screwed on my whole video, and it was a nightmare. I spent like half the day just trying to fix the video after because the software wasn't compatible with M1 and blah blah. And it's all so fun, this stuff. Takes time away from writing music. Are you ever going to release the PT-15 in a combo? I'm really interested in it, but I've always been a combo guy. I would love to. It's not something that John seems really interested in doing. I mean, we built the 112 for it, so we've got the head and the 112. When he builds a combo, I think just the way he thinks about design, he's not the guy that's going to take it, turn it around, put it in the back of a cabinet, and with the knobs backwards and go, there, combo. because that's what most companies do. You know, they just take the existing head and then they mount it in a cabinet built for it with the knobs going backwards, right, and bolt it in there, and now you've got a combo. He doesn't think about things that way. So for him, he'd think it's like it's going to be a total redesign. I have to do it so it makes sense, and because the tubes go up in the PT15, right? If you want to put the knobs on the top in a combo, you're going to have to now make the tubes go down. It's a total redesign of the whole amp. Well, just the way he thinks about things, the only way to do it in a quick and easy way would be to take the existing head, build a cabinet for it, and mount it in with the knobs backwards. So actually, that's my question. That's my question to all you guys, actually. What do you guys think about that? Like Fender Bassman style, when they, or old Fender Tweed amp style, when the knobs are on top and the controls, when you're in front of the amp, are facing, you're reading them backwards, right? How do you feel about that? Does that drive you insane? Because to me, it's like, we could actually do that and I would be happy with it. But I know people would complain about it. Some people, certain segment of people. I'm just interested in what you guys think. Like, does that bother you? Or would you, yeah, just curious. Here's an interesting, I'd love to hear you, and I'll get to these super chats. I'm sorry, I'm going to get to them all, and I'm not going to miss you guys. Sticking the train wreck Liverpool through the fryette, does it retain the juicy goodness? Part of the train wreck thing is being in the room with the cabinet. So I would say yes, it for the most part, if you're just reducing the volume a little bit, it'll retain it. But part of the thing is the volume. And if the cab is in the other room, so right now I've got my power station here and the cab's in the other room. And so through mics, you can still get the great sound, but you're not going to get any of that magical blooming of stuff into harmonics without being in the room with the cabinet, because that's all feedback and interaction. It's like the thing's alive, however he used to, Ken used to do his amps. They were just this harmonic, they were like harmonic chime compression machines with all this stuff coming out of them. When you play one note, it turns into three and all that. So there's no free lunch, is my answer. You can get the great sound of just the way the amp sounds, the tone, but all that bloom and everything, no free lunch. You kind of need to have the volume as well as the amp in the room. And that's just part of the magic, though. That's part of the fun, I think, So, yeah. Sometimes fun and magic is inconvenient. Okay. Let's see. What do I think about the tone and Money for Nothing for Dire Straits? I mean, it was great. It was, stuck wah. It was different for him. I like that he went on a limb and did something that was played a Les Paul and all that good stuff. Very cool. For the time, lots of great guitar stuff. And Brothers in Arms, that record in general, the song Brothers in Arms. The very first thing I ever heard on CD was that record, and so it starts with the song "So Far Away from Me," and that that riff is the very first thing I ever heard on CD. And I remember being like blown away how quiet it was. There's no noise, there's no hiss, or from a tape, or there's no record crackles from a. Little did I know that we would come to appreciate all that stuff later and miss our albums, and now they're popular again. But I don't miss cassettes. That's one thing I don't miss. But, there's lots of great sounds on that record. Okay, moving through the chat here. If you were going to start, I'm going to get to the super chats. I promise. If you were going to start over with recording plugins, how would you do it? I want to get into recording and mixing more, but there's so many options. I would just get Logic, to be honest, because it's got everything built in. I mean, I know, you don't need anything else. There's enough stuff in there to make a record, just within Logic. And then just adding a few things. So I love the UA plugins. They're great. I love the Apogee plugins I've gotten recently. They're great. I really like Sound Toys plugins. They're Echo Boy and, Decapitator. Great Sound Toys plugins for distortion, delay, and different effects and stuff. The Sunset Sound Reverb is really cool from IK. Waves Mix Centric from Greg Wells is on just about everything I do. I love that plugin on the master bus. It's just a sweetener. It sounds amazing. Brainworks does great stuff, and we got to give a nod to Neural. Of course, they're making great amp sims. So my PT100 was designed by Brainworks. I love it. So okay, So many good questions here, you guys. We got almost 400 people online. Nice to have all you guys here. Johan says, looking for an audio interface for recording guitar and keyboard. Looking at Apollo Twin USB, Apogee Symphony Desktop, and RME. Do you have any other suggestions? I think you've got it covered between those. Just figure out what strikes your fancy out of the three of those. But you've got great options right there. Don't look any further, really. My favorite are UA and Apogee for sure. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to move down and get to these super chats now, you guys. I'm sorry. Bruce says, working on my my baseboard touch up, filing nail holes and caulking between the boards and the wall. Listening to you definitely makes it not as tedious. Thanks. I'm glad to help on a home improvement day. Have you ever played Novo guitars? I have not. Don't know about those. Sorry, really. I'm not sure what this question means, but Open Lens said, for 2600, what's your idea mint shape? Sir Modern plus HSH, I should say, trans blue denim slate. Sorry there, Open Lens. I'm not sure if there's a question in there. You can ask me again. Okay. What else we got here? Have you ever enjoyed psychedelics? I'm gonna keep that private. Not really. Certainly not while playing guitar. Corey says, listening to your 2 album, and can't believe it's Pete Thorn 2. I know it's been 4 years. Yeah, it feels like only 2. It's such a weird. It feels like 5 to me, but it also feels like 1. So it's weird. Do you have a folder for the pedal demos that you liked, how it developed for your next album? I did that with the Pete Thorn 2 album. I made a folder, and but no, I don't really. Like, I have a drive with everything on it, like all the demos, all the audio, the mixes and stuff. And what I did when I did the last record is just spend a few hours going back and listening to everything, just listening to the mixes for each demo, going, well, that one was cool. Or sometimes, I could just go through YouTube actually and go through the gear demos playlist that I make, because I add everything to that when I do a new gear demo, and just go through and listen to them on YouTube and go, oh, and then I'll go find the track, on the drive. So, yep. Ian says that he throws away too many riffs when they're too similar to something else. Hey, it doesn't stop Greta Van Fleet or Dirty Honey. Keep those riffs. Are you still using the Dry Bell Unit 67 on your board? Yeah, I still have it on there. I didn't use it. Well, actually, I used it quite a bit on the Classic Rock Show tour. Now that I think about it, I did use it quite a bit, actually. Boosting certain things, certain sounds, I would kick it on. It's just a really cool sounding boost, really. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Let's see what else we got. There's one super chat there. Missed. Here it is. Guitars for your project. Thank you, man. I have the PT-15 quad, using quad for my direct rig, and the PT-15 for my amp rig with a Boss ES5. Cool. Which pedals would you pick up for the front of the PT-15, and what delay verb would you pick up for the loop? So, dude, try using it 4-cable. That's what I've been doing. Instead of getting something else, you already have everything you need. You can make quad Cortex presets, and there's your delay reverb. It's so small, the quad, and portable, that it's like, it's not really like, it's the size of, it's this big. So it's like, at that point, it's like, that can be your whole pedal board. I mean, you could use it for your direct rig and then also use it with the cab, with the PT-15, and make presets. And the thing I like about that, and just that sort of simplification, is the same thing I liked about the Helix when I got it. You can make one thing your whole workflow, and then you just get used to it, and you get very good at it. Like utilizing one thing to its full potential. So give it a try. I'm just hot on that right now because that's what I've been doing. I've got a gig in a couple weeks. And I just thought for this gig, I'm going to take a PT-100 and a 412. So not exactly downsizing, but But for my effects, I'm just going to keep it simple and use the quad with an expression pedal, and that's it. And everything's in there. Every effect you could want, reverb, delay, the that's all in there. Obviously, compression and drives and stuff, and like I said, MIDI switches my amp. Now on the PT15, you're not going to be able to channel switch, but you could get the little Sir MIDI box. It's $99. I think you can buy it direct from them and add that, and that would be a great way to convert MIDI to the TRS style foot switches on the PT15. So yeah, with one little like $99 investment or whatever, I think you've got your delay and reverb and everything covered with the PT. Give it a try. So tell me what you think. I think it works great with the PT15, or sorry, with the PT100, and it'll work great with the PT15 too. No ground loops, reasonably quiet. It's all good. Okay. Who do you recommend for guitar repairs? There's a couple people. There's a fellow, I'm not going to remember the name of the store he's at now. Eric is his name. Lush Guitar is his company, and he's really great. He works out of a store in, it's not La Cañada, but it's adjacent to there, like kind of, the northeast LA County situation. Murrieta, I believe, is the town, which is right adjacent to La Cañada. But anyways, there's a music store there. It's a family-owned music store that's kind of well known, and he works in the repair department there. He used to be over at Tour Supply, Third Encore, and he's moved around town, but he's really good. Norik Renson is also another guy in LA who I really appreciate their work. I think they do good work. He's been around forever and worked for a lot of big names, well respected. So Renson, Renson, guitar repair, really good. The guy at California Guitar did a little bit of work for me, and he's a nice guy, seems good. At what's on Van Nuys Boulevard? No, yeah, Van Nuys Boulevard. California Vintage Guitar, I think it's called. It's in the Valley. So there's a few folks. Okay. What else? Okay, here's you guys are talking about the knobs on the amp, because I asked you how you feel about that when the knobs are going backwards. And let's see. Doesn't bother me, says Scott, when the knobs are backwards. Lauren says, I like knobs front facing. It's cost saving to flip the head, says Poo Ninja. I prefer knobs up top, generally outside the aesthetic change. And Chris says, I just expect the combos to be upside down. Wisteria says Fender knobs backwards are bad. I like to put stuff on top of my amp. No beers. Yes, it would bother me. About an even mix of people that say it bothers them, people that say it don't. So, it would be the easiest thing in the world to put it in a cab like that, but I know there's a lot of, John just doesn't like doing that. So, let's see. Arthur says, have you heard the Tom Morello with Grandson, Hold the Line? I did, yeah. I like Grandson. It's really good. Cool music. Neat combo of rock and EDM, and it's good stuff. I did hear that one solo too. I remember hearing it going, I think this is maybe one of the best solos I've heard Morello play. Like, I remember thinking that when I only heard it once, but anyways. How do you stay inspired and motivated to play guitar when you go through a tough spell? I just did a little video on this when I was up in Canada for the folks that I was working with up there, so that'll be coming out. But we did like 5 ways to stay inspired. If you've got any options to go out and see some great music, that's one really good thing to do to stay inspired. I find, get out there and see some live music. For me, it's like going to see Landau or something. It just always blows me away. I know not everybody has live in a place where they can do that, but there's great players everywhere. So that's one way to go. Maybe signing up for like an online, course of some sort. Get Tim Pierce's masterclass, for instance. That's going to be a good time, and you're going to learn stuff. Sign up for that. For basically, you could do it for a year for the cost of a couple private lessons. You can sign up for his masterclass, probably learn so much, So there's that. A couple good ideas there, I think. Just take a private lesson with somebody in town that maybe play like a style of guitar. I mean, I like to sit and sometimes like I haven't done this for years, but like with a nylon string guitar and open up and let's read some music. You're crappy reader. Let's read. Sit there and just basic classical guitar. And before I know it, like 45 minutes have passed. And it's actually kind of fun when you feel like you're accomplishing something. Like, oh, I'm actually reading. Wow. Imagine that. Something out of the box, like get yourself out of the norm. But and just taking a private lesson, that can be a great thing too. Somebody in town that make you think about things in a different way, maybe spot problems in your playing and try and get you to work on certain things that you wouldn't otherwise. Have you ever played an Orange AD30? Like once, I think I did. Sounded pretty cool. I guess I was at True Tone Music in Santa Monica. I don't know much about Orange amps, to be honest. New or old. I enjoyed Rhett Shull's video on Orange amps that he did with Rick Beato, because Rick has a few and he really knows them. And it was like, oh, I just learned like a wealth of information about Orange that I never would have known. Like that one sucks, that one not so great, this one great, like actually really good. Like that's the way I felt about it. Like here's the usable model of the old, ODR or whatever they were called. JJ says, do you still prefer Logic over Luna? I mean, Luna's great. I just got used to Logic and all the workflow and everything. And, I haven't used Luna for a little bit, to be honest. So I would have to get back into it and give it a try. Again, get back into it. So, yeah. Dory says, wishing you a wonderful day. Hey, thank you for being here. Let's see. I'd rather spend time trying to write a great song and paying someone else to record it properly, instead of spending hours going through layers of recording software. Yeah, totally valid. I don't know that that my angle for that is to devote the time to learn the recording software or whatever kind of software or gear, like the learning curve. Devote the time to the learning curve without trying to be creative, because that's when your right brain, left brain, fight one another. You're sitting there trying to get a song down, you can't figure out how to arm the track to record. So I've talked about this in the past, but devoting the time to learning the software through taking a course or an online like Logic training, there's lots of stuff on YouTube. I mean, whatever, Pro Tools training, you can get to the point pretty quick within just a few days where, all right, I basically understand what I'm doing. Like it's not like this is some, it's not a mystery. It's not, you don't have to take 6 months to learn Logic or something. Final Cut Pro, I spent about 48 hours on before I started using it and making, videos. And there's still a ton of stuff I don't know how to do. And I discover stuff all the time, but every video you see me make, I edit in Final Cut Pro. I mean, I know it good enough to do what I do. So, limiting getting lost down learning curve rabbit holes is a good thing, but also I'm not afraid of, knowing how to use software, not having to pay people to do things all the time. For me, I love being able to sit here and record myself. And I like being in studios where other people are doing it too, but I mean, it's not really that, it's not this insurmountable task, or like, you're not going to lose like weeks of your life, or, miss out on writing good songs or anything like that. These days, they've made it easy enough that it's, I would just suggest that you devote the time, a day, a couple days, to, okay, I'm going to sit here and spend 4 hours on this right now, take a break, come back to it, learning the software a little bit so that I know good enough how to, at least get started and do what I want to do. Don't try and record your song during that time. Use the song. Generally, they come with a demo song. Logic will, like, some song that it just comes with that you can experiment with. And, oh, here's how you edit. Here's how you, move things around. Here's how you add plugins. Here's how you whatever. And you can just experiment with someone else's, stock piece of music or whatever to do that kind of thing, So, who are your favorite up and coming guitarists? And sorry, I know there's more super chats that I got to get to. Okay, my favorite up and coming guitarist. Man, I saw this guy. Look at this young guy play bass. You hear that? So just check this guy out because he just blows my mind, man. I mean, he's also just the unbridled bass face is great, you know. But I know he's not a guitarist, he's a bass player. But his name is uh, God, my eyes are driving me crazy. The floaters and the context, the whole 9 yards. Aaron Hodek, Aron Hodek, Hodek. So he's on Instagram. He's got almost 500,000 Instagram followers. He's so good. I think he's 11. I mean, he's just improving on bass over like a progression that he made. And he's so in the friggin' zone, you know? It's just like, wow. So I saw him yesterday. I was just like, man, he sounds so inspired and like his rhythm and his, you know, there's no choices and everything. It's just like, what? Like, it's like his age is meaningless, you know? He's just right there. So anyway, that's the one he's a bass player, but I was inspired by that yesterday, seeing him. Actually, I got to remember to follow him because I didn't totally follow him. What a great musician, you know. There's lots of other, you know, players that I see all the time that blow me away, but he's the one that came to mind. We'll give him props for today. I'm not even sure if you could hear that very well through the mic. Oh, you know what I just realized? I'm not actually using my mic. Oops. Well, let's try that again. I'm just going to play that video one more time because I'm not even sure if you could hear what I just played. I'm supposed to be using I think I'm using the mic on the Logicam. I've got my other mic plugged in here, but the USB cable's not all the way into it. So I must be using the Logitech microphone, which is okay. Yeah, that's Aaron playing bass. Really great. You know, no BS going on there. It's just like all good. Like, you know, not just licks and, you know. Okay. I hope you could hear that. If you go check them out anyway, even if you couldn't. Really inspiring. Have you listened to Joe Satriani's new album? No, I should actually. I've heard it's really good, and you know, I think we talked about last week that he used all plugins, so I'm gonna make a note to remember to do that. That'll be a good one to do in the car or something. Spend some time listening to Joe's new record. I've heard nothing but good things. People say really good things. I mean, between him and Steve Vai put out a great new record recently as well. Right? Good stuff. Yeah. HX Stomp or Eventide H9 from Miscellaneous Effects. There's no right answer to that, really. You know, I would say that the Stomp easier to program. Still kind of, it's a little finicky getting around it. You know, I would use it with the editor, but I know once I got into it, I could figure it out pretty easy. But it is when anytime you make something small, it's just like there's going to be sub menus and how do I get to the thing again? And it's a little the Stomp is a little like that, but we can't fault it. It's an amazing device. I mean, there's so much good stuff about it, you know. So, okay. Okay. Oh, I see. Here's the question again from Open Lens. 2600, a mint shape Sir Modern Plus, hum single hum, trans blue, denim slate. Do you think that's a good deal? Sounds like a pretty good deal to me. 2600 bucks mint. I mean, like, you know, in this economy, I think that's probably a pretty good price. I don't know exactly what it went for new, but you're not going to get a new Sir for that these days. I don't think so. You know, if it strikes your fancy, go ahead and push buy on the buy button and let us know how it works out. Look at this. It's a super chat from Dylan. And Dylan says, Monday I was learning a song on YouTube by slowing the playback speed. Later I put on your Sunday Live, forgot about the slow speed, and for a minute I thought Pete must be drunk. I think maybe the speed is on speeding back up again. Is Eric's phone the same? Lush. Well, I don't want to broadcast his phone, but probably. Yeah. He's just in the store in Murrieta, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's I think the only music store in Murrieta. So if you were to look for Guitar Shop, Murrieta, California, you would find where Eric works. Yeah. Sean Michael says, anyone looking for amp repair, Amp Hole in Burbank is top notch. I've heard nothing but good things as well. Don't know that place. I haven't been there personally. I get Dave Friedman or John Sir to do all my amp stuff, but yeah, I've heard good things about Amp Hole. Here's another super chat from Mr. Anderson. Status Audio CB1s. Those are the headphones that I use. There's a pair of them right here. Back in stock on Amazon. Took about 3 months, but arrived today. Go get them, folks. Could be the next Klon. They are really nice. Good sounding headphones. For the money, especially. Where did the SL68 go? Oh, it's actually right there. It's in the bottom. Should I put it back up there? I had an open slot down there because I'm getting something done by Soldano. So put the SL68 down there. But yeah, you can't really see it, can you? So all three. I've got the 72 Marshall there, the Germino, and the Sir down there. Have I heard the new Chili Peppers record? Not the whole thing, but some. It sounds great to me. And, nice album for sure. It's that sound. They do that thing that they do, and they do it so well. SQL Smarty sent me a super sticker. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thanks you guys all for being here. Okay, let's see. As far as motivation goes, Horst says, put Van Halen on your stereo for 5 hours. Motivation for a lifetime. It never gets old for me, that's for sure. Lawrence says that this channel and Tim's masterclass are motivational to him every weekend. Thanks, man. I got to do Tim's masterclass. I still haven't done it. I really want to do it. Tim Pierce, we're talking about here, as his great masterclass. Martin sends a super sticker. Thank you, man. Appreciate that. Oh, and here's another super chat. Sorry, I know I've missed some of these, but I'm going to get them all. Rock and Rolling with the super chat says, my favorite humbucker was a DiMarzio Norton. Very hard to find. Any recommendations for a humbucker for a hum single that's around 12K? That's the Sir SSH. That's right. It's a Alnico 5. I don't know many that are right around there. I think I seem to remember like the full shred being around there, or maybe 10K. I think the Screaming Demon was 10 or 11K, something like that. But yeah, the Sir SSH is about 12K, and I like that pickup actually. It's a good sounding, really good sounding. Brian asks a really good question. When you toured with Chris Cornell, did he ever play electric with you and Yogi? He never did. He just played acoustic. He wanted it that way. I don't know why. I guess he just he really, I think, enjoyed being free of the guitar. I thought about this a lot actually over the last few days. But yeah, he enjoyed the freedom of not having to play the guitar parts and just being able to sing. He had no ego about guitar playing. It was just a way to deliver the song. And so I think the chance for somebody else to play that guitar part and him just to be able to sing and have fun doing that that was what he enjoyed. He loves guitar, he loved playing and stuff, but I think to some degree for Chris, playing rock rhythm part while trying to sing might have always been somewhat tedious for him. I actually think that he really, as long as the song coming across was the most important thing. The song required the guitar, so he played it. But I don't think it's something that, I'm sure he enjoyed it on some level, but he really enjoyed not playing. I remember asking him all right, so are you going to play guitar? I had to do some gigs with him where Yogi wasn't there and it was just me. And I said, so are you going to play guitar on? And he goes, no, you're going to do it all. And it was like, okay. And, and then the last gig I did with him in 2016 or 17 or whatever, 2017, 16. I don't remember. Anyways, whenever the hell it was. I said it. I actually asked him like on this certain songs because he sent me a set list and it was like this certain set list and it was like, okay, we can do all this, but on this one, it's like it would be really, really great if you could play guitar with me on this song, like so that we can fill out the sound. He go, okay, no problem, I'll do it. But I think for him, if he didn't have to, he liked playing and all that. But I think he enjoyed playing acoustic. Probably enjoyed playing the electric, but he really enjoyed delivering a song and maybe singing. That's my impression. You would have had to ask him for his real opinion on that. But anyway, the most important thing was the song and the music and the way it was coming across to him. Okay, good question about Logic here. Just starting to get a recording using GarageBand since it's on my MacBook. Easy transition to Logic when you want to move up. Yes, GarageBand is basically like Logic Lite, and they do sort of prepare you for Logic, I think, through GarageBand these days. I think that's the kind of the idea is like, that they would move GarageBand closer and closer to Logic. They used to have a Logic Studio and Logic Pro, right? Logic Studio was like the light version of Logic, and GarageBand was a totally different looking thing. Now they discontinued that Logic Studio stuff many years ago, and gradually they moved GarageBand to look a lot more like Logic and function like it too, and they brought them more together. It's kind of the way that they've done it. So Logic also used to be very expensive. It was like $1,000 to get the program. Now it's like I think $299 or $199 or something, and so it's way more reasonable to move from GarageBand into it. Really simple. So yeah. Glad to hear you're a fan of the Roxy Music Avalon album. I love that album. Beautiful sounding record. Yeah. Martin's asked me a question I don't know the answer to. On the classic Walk On By, there's some rhythm parts that almost sound muted but still have notes. I would have to listen. Interesting. I'd love to hear that right now. I can't go listen to it right now, but some people did that, like foam under the bass players used to do that all the time, where you put the foam under the strings and it kind of boom does that thing, you see that in lots of photos of basses with that piece of foam. Maybe it was that, so interesting. I'd love to go give it a listen. I'll do that later. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. New to cab sim pedals. Any tips on how to run them without a computer? Cab sim pedals? Well, I mean, most of them will be, where you can just run into I see, like how to a full range. You need a full range monitor to plug it into, yeah, I mean, generally speaking, I found most studio monitors, they've got a preamp or something in them, like my Adams sitting here, have a volume control on them in the back input. And you can generally just jack right out of whatever into the back of a studio monitor and then play. So, your average, Tannoy or whatever, Mackie or whatever, try plugging the output of the cab sim pedal right into the monitor and see if you can get enough juice out of it to go into the monitor, turn up the level on it. It's one way. Basically, it's a full range monitor. You might eventually want to try getting something like the head rush cabinets. They're like little powered wedges that I did a video for, that kind of thing. You can use those and run right into those as a full range monitor system. Yeah. Yeah. Rhodey says you got to look up Nick Johnson if you don't already know him, incredible guitarist. I know Nick. I've met him. I mean, I don't know him well, but he was at GitCon in Germany when I was there, the second one. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here? You ever thought about doing a series of videos about the step-by-step process of recording an EP or album? It's such an extensive kind of thing. I mean, if I thought about doing stuff like that back when I was making my last record, and it's like when you're making a record, it's like such another layer of like you almost need somebody to do it for you, to make somebody that's wanted to be involved in like a recording mixing course, and you just have them document while you're doing it. You sort of occasionally talk to the camera and say, well, here's what we're doing here, and just get a fly on the wall perspective. For me to do it, it's like while I'm trying to record, it just seems like, I mean, it'd be great, if you could do it and then somehow monetize it, I guess, do it on Patreon or do it on, something. Then now you've killed two birds with one stone. I guess you've made a cool course, which is what everybody's doing now, and you've also got a new music. So, but I could do it with one song maybe, and it would be easier, on my own, because I do everything on my own, right? That's the thing. I film, mix, edit, do all this stuff. I don't have anybody doing this stuff for me, so it's just a question of having the, you know what I'm saying. So, okay, what else we got here? Oh, all right. John's asking about Eric again, about being more specific. Maybe it's not Murrieta that Eric from Lush is. I thought that's the name of the town, but let me look up. I just can't remember the name of the town that he's in. I'm gonna look on my phone right now on my maps and see what is right there. It's like literally right in that hood. If there wasn't so many damn names for towns in LA. Every little town's got another name, so it's literally like Montrose. Sorry, Montrose is the town. Like the band Montrose. Why didn't I remember that? Sammy Hagar, for God's sakes. Ronnie Montrose, not Murrieta. Apologies. Sorry, John. So it's the music store that's in Montrose, and really close to Luck and Yada Flint Ridge. Sorry, you just welcome to my brain. I'm an airhead sometimes. Okay. What else? Floaters, says all's fair in rock and roll. Yeah, I have such bad floaters, and it's such a drag these days. Yeah. This is the kind of stuff, right? Ran into a swarm of bees because they look the same as your floaters. Eye floaters we're talking about, crap in your field of vision. Who else out there has floaters? They're so fun. I have a really big one in my left eye that's shaped kind of like an L, and it just drifts around in there. It sucks. Hate it. My eye doctor told me a little while ago that most of the advancements in, because I still wear contacts, because I really have one good eye that, so it's like a lot of people will get LASIK these days, right? Or, lens replacement. Well, with one eye, they're like, it's kind of risky. You only get one. So, that's really, the other one works, but it's not pulling for the team. So he just, long story short, he said, most of the advancements have been done in LASIK and in lens replacement and all this kind of stuff. They've got all these great advancements now they can do, like with, outpatient surgery. One day they can fit. Well, I can't get LASIK because my eyes are so screwed up. They won't, there's not enough cornea there to shave off, basically, to correct my problems. So, and lens replacement I could do, but then you're at increased risk for retinal detachment and all this kind of stuff. So they're like, yeah, just live with it. I'm like, yeah, it's getting harder like every year. It sucks. He basically said, there's only a couple brands of contact lenses I can actually get for my eyes that are otherwise, you're looking at really expensive custom small manufacturers. So it's tough because there's just not a lot out there, and the contacts I wear now they're supposed to be more breathable than the ones that were out a few years ago, which is good for your eyes, more oxygen. But I don't like them as much. That my eyes get more tired earlier in the day, and they tend to. I feel like they won't focus right after about halfway through the day. And he's like, "This is all I can find for you." It's like kind of a drag. So surgery might be the eventual. I just go for it and hope for the best. I don't know. Anyways, sorry about that. Don't mean to grind. Don't mean to. What's the word? Complain about my own problems. Abba-day. All right. Andy says that he used plugins for his first two solo albums due to a no-noise living area. Sounds great. I mean, that's the thing, right? Out of necessity, you can do these things now, and you end up with great results. Like I say, everybody gets paid, nobody gets hurt, everybody goes home happy. if you don't tell people what you used, you could probably just tell them you used your vintage Marshall and recorded it all at East West Studios in Los Angeles. Everybody would believe you. Speaking of a drunk show, what happened to the Pete and Dave cocktail hour? We'll do one of these days. I'm trying. As I get older, I'm also trying to preserve my liver. Yeah. What else? Let's see. How do you plug in all those cabs? Looks like it would be. Wait, what do you mean? My amps? All my amps? They're all into power conditioners. Stuff. Yeah, Status Audio headphones, $59 right now, I guess, on Amazon. Whatever model you just showed, I bought them. They're really good, though. Well, you say I'm costing you money, but I'm saving you money, because instead you would go spend $300 on headphones. Instead, you're getting these for $59. And I can honestly say they sound great. Really great. Honestly. Come on now. Will I lie? No. Okay. Oh, some super chats I missed. Thank you guys for the super chats today and for being here just in general. I appreciate it. Matt says, when you come up with a new riff, how quickly do you start messing with it in your DAW? Really quick. Sometimes I feel I start producing before I'm done songwriting. I totally do that. But I'll start with the idea and I'll get drums going and the riff, and then I see where it leads me. Like, I don't have the whole thing developed or anything. Sometimes I can hear where it's supposed to go in my head. But sometimes it's just an idea and I put that down. That's it. And then I see where it goes. I mean, I've taken songs, 10th Street from my first record. All I had was the clean riff at the beginning and the kind of the B section. That was it. And then the first little lead guitar that's in the mellow part. But when it kind of goes double time into the 335, like more gainy solo, and the song picks up, I wrote that part 5 years later. So I used that started as a song in 2005 or 6, and I used all those guitars and at the beginning, and I just added to it and built around what was already there. But it's the original parts that I came up with. And then I wrote a whole second section for the song in the middle, like 5 years later, and I just tacked that on. And then the funny thing is, at the end of the song, I go back to the clean part that's at the beginning of 10th Street, and I had to recreate the tone like 5 years later, and I don't even know what I used on the first. So I just kind of went in and did it as best I could, using a different setup or whatever. And so if you listen to the riff at the end of the song and the riff at the beginning of the song, they're actually recorded like 5 years apart. But I don't think you hear much difference. I was able to like match the tones pretty close and stuff. So I do stuff in such a haphazard way, man. It's all good. Like, I piece things together. Eddie Van Halen did that, when you think about House of Pain, they had that riff way back in 76 or 77, and it was like a different song, and then they didn't end up using it until, and then it gets twisted around, and because the way he kind of like he'd use sections years later, for things that would have gotten thrown out or something from a previous song. I just find that interesting. But don't beat it up too much is all I can say. Like, if you get stalled, get away from it. Maybe go listen to some other songs, like, to get some ideas of where you could go, because I'll do that sometimes. Like, when I can't think of where to go next, I need to listen to something else. I'll put on some Jeff Beck or something, or put on some Joe, some Satriani, or some Eric Johnson or something, or a totally different kind of music. Go, oh, this is interesting. What if I went there, like, you know what I mean? Just try and get inspired, and then you come back to it and you listen to it again. You're like, oh, I can totally hear where this is supposed to go now. I mean, that's how it works for me anyway. Get away from it for a minute. Yeah. Okay. What else? Have you tried the Wizard Modern Classic amp? Years ago. I like Wizard amps. I thought they sounded really good. I always thought it was kind of a cross between Marshall and Hiwatt, like punchy Hiwatt, but Marshally to gain and stuff. Were the Sex Pistols really bad musicians? I mean, I think Sid was known to not really be much of a player outside of that band. And he didn't even really record the bass, did he? On the record was the other dude. So I think, like, I don't think they're bad musicians. I mean, Johnny was obviously a a creative guy. I like the way that Steve Jones plays guitar. I mean, the guitar on the record sound cool. And then years later, you can see him on his hilarious Instagram posts and stuff playing, and he's cool. The other thing, I don't know, define like bad. I loved the Sex Pistols when I first heard it, which was only like a few years after it came out. I mean, I was like 10 when I heard it, so it was 80 or 81, and it was still basically like a new album almost. It sounded amazing to me. It was like so explosive and raw, It's like just like this music sounds crazy. I like that, Yeah. Mark says for a Canadian, you should contact Rick to try. I went to Rick's kid's birthday party 20 years ago. I've known Rick for a long time. I haven't seen him in years or really talked to him in years. A little bit on like Facebook back and forth and stuff. But I knew that guy, and we used some Wizard amps on the very first record I ever made in LA, 95. Not a modern classic, but it was Ard heads, an 80 and a 50. Basically a 50 plexi and an 80 watt. Maybe like a low voltage or something. I don't know. I remember it was a 4-tube 80 watt and like a 2-tube 50 watt Ard, A-R-D. Ard. Sounds Ard, mate. Wizards. They were wizards. Wizard plexis, essentially. I love your video getting the SL68 sound out of the PT15 channel 2. Yeah, I was able to get pretty close. It's my default setting. For fun, I've been trying to replicate it in channel 1 with a pedal. Exotic soul driven gets closest. That's interesting. Yeah, a Marshally drive into channel 1 will do, there's plenty out there that'll kind of get you close. The Bogner Blue is really good for that. Friedman Small Box. There's a bunch. Steve says, hit the thumbs up, everybody. I wouldn't mind at all if you did that. Please thumbs up the video. It helps to spread it far and wide on the worldwide interwebs. I think there's some super chats I've missed, so I better take a look. What are the Thornbuckers modeled after? I haven't heard them, but are they great for clarity? Yeah, they're great for clarity. They're not modeled after anything particular. They were inspired, for sure, I must say, by my Gil Yaron pickups. I knew the approximate like strength and stuff, and Gil told me what magnets. I mean, it was a 5 in the neck and a 4 in the bridge, and that's about as far as we went with it. I was like, okay, I want to do a PAF strength pickup like these because I really liked what Gil was doing. But let's wind our own and try some winds and stuff. So we experimented with different like offsets of winds and things, and using the formula that Sir makes to make pickups basically. But we ended up with a similar PAFE set. I mean, it's an Alnico 4 in the bridge and a 5 in the neck. And to do that, we found probably same as Gil. You got to the 5 is stronger generally, that magnet, and it gives you more bass and more treble, just all other things equal. So go for a lower wind because it's kind of a stronger magnet, louder pickup generally. I think I've got that right. And so you got to go for a slightly lower wind to reduce it's all a recipe. So consequently, the neck pickup is like a 7.3 or 4K or something with Alnico 5, and then the bridge was like 8.3, but Alnico 4 with the slightly called softer magnet. And then it was interesting to experiment with winding and the degree of offset, because they are slightly offset, but to not go too far or not go too much, we came up with a formula where it just seemed like just about right. It's just slightly different, the two foils. It just opens up the sound of the pickup a little bit. It's very nice. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go down to here's the super chats. There's Brian there. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate that, my friend. And Travis as well. Are Thornbuckers good for clarity? New to the humbucker game? Yes. So basically that was what they were designed, and that's part of what I was just talking about. The offset coils open up the sound of the pickup a bit, aka they make it a bit more single coily sounding, a bit more open. By sticking to a relatively low wind, you're not getting too hot, and then which makes the pickup loud and mid-range and not single coil like to me. And then by offsetting the coil a bit, it makes it a little more single coily. One coil is a little stronger than the one actually, and is a little more dominant, and you get a bit more of this open single coil thing rather than the kind of smoother humbucker thing, you know. Get a little bit more of this, like, it's not quack, but there's just a little bit more character to the pickup. There's nothing wrong with match coils either. It's a big, fat, smoother sound anytime you exactly match the coils. And when you think about a super distortion, big, fat, even distortion, that's what they sound like to me. The coils are exactly the same metal, everything, same pull pieces. It's not a screw and a slug coil and all that. So, okay, what else? Lauren says your production process seems not unlike how it works with writing with a band, except the DAW and you were the band. Well, everybody sort of, that got into recording with DAWs, Pro Tools, Logic, that kind of thing. We all sort of became like our own engineers and producers, and it seems like, to some degree, we got everybody, because you just sort of naturally pick up some of that stuff through doing it. And then as you're working, you're kind of mixing. Didn't used to be that way, really. I mean, I guess to the degree where it was like, if you were recording back in the day, recording the sound to tape, getting it perfect, like the tape. By perfect, I mean like what you wanted to hear. It's not like we'll fix it in the mix. No, it was like, you move the microphone on the amp to get it to sound like about right. The goal being you should be able to sort of pull up all the faders about even, and it sounds right. You're recording the levels and the EQ balance and everything. You know what I mean? Like, and so, just to some degree, that was how you used to do it. But it's not like people started piling on EQ and effects and stuff while, the band was still tracking the parts. It seemed like, oh, we'll get to that in the mix, we'll do all that stuff. Nowadays, it's like everybody's adding their plugins and changing sounds. You're kind of mixing as you go, while you're recording. It's just different, I guess, and it's to the point where you kind of, many times the way I'm doing things, almost piecemealing things together, like, oh, this would be cool to right here now, then right there, different sections and things that you're adding as you go. Have you checked out Third Secret with Matt Cameron, Kim, and Chris from Nirvana? Yeah, I did. I think it sounds really cool. I like it. It kind of has that classic, more Bad Motorfinger, I don't know, like the riffs. That's, to me, like that's this, Kim's strong suit, that kind of, the way he, the types of riffs and stuff. I think the difference between, like I said, I've thought about this a lot. I think the difference between like, let's say Bad Motorfinger and maybe some of the stuff that came just before, and then what we hear with Super Unknown, and then certainly into Down on the Upside, you start to hear Chris's guitar style becoming a bit more dominant in around Super Unknown. Not dominant, but definitely, his songs like Burden in My Hand. That's a perfect example, actually. That's Chris, as opposed to, maybe Beyond the Wheel. That's Kim, There's the difference right there, and you start to hear that transition happening, right at Super Unknown, I guess. Maybe, it's his rhythm guitar playing and stuff starts becoming the, with those alternate tunings and that kind of stuff. You guys know what I'm talking about, I think, if you're a Soundgarden fan. So, and this band, I should say, sounds like that, because Kim's obviously he's the guitar player. So it's like, you start to hear that kind of his riff sort of style, and I think it sounds cool, we'll see where it goes. If you guys haven't checked out the Third Secret music, check it out, give it a listen, check it out. It's pretty cool. When you're programming drums, do you adjust velocities and swing feel or humanize as you go? Well, using Superior Drummer, there's feel built into most of the grooves that it comes with. So I've gravitated towards using a lot of the, their packs and expansion packs, which come with tons of grooves, MIDI grooves and all that stuff, finding the ones that I like and then assembling those. Because once you start downloading a ton of their packs, there's almost every conceivable drum thing that you could possibly imagine in there. Unless you really want something crazy specific, it's like you're going to find grooves that kind of work with what you are writing in there. So those all have, it's real people playing those expansion packs and stuff. So they've got all this humanizing built in velocities and stuff. But if I want to go in and change anything, I'll go in and do it. Like, if I'm like, many times like here's the thing: if you guys do drums out there like that, many times you'll find a drum kit that sounds great for your song, and then you'll find a groove that sounds great, but that groove was cut on, who knows what the drummer was playing when he was, right? So it could be a completely different drum sound and balance. So many times I'll find that the groove that I like, the hi-hat is like way too loud for like, the velocities. So I'll have to go in and lasso all the hi-hats and turn the velocities down overall and that kind of thing, match levels. I find sometimes with the superior drummer kits as well that the kick, they've got a lot of sub mixed in all the time. And I need to dial that back because it's huge sometimes and sounds like blowing up the low end. So I'll have to go into the mixer and dial that back. So many times I'm pulling the overheads down just a little bit, pulling the hi-hat down a little bit, pulling the sub of the kick down a little bit, and then going in and changing velocities of hi-hats or ride cymbals. Sometimes crashes are really loud, like on some of the grooves, and just doesn't work with whatever kit I'm using. So I'll go in and adjust those, move it all around. But generally speaking, it's pretty easy to get something that sounds respectably good within a short period of time, even having to do that stuff. So, didn't Tim Pierce play on Johnny Rotten's public PIL? Is that the Public Image Limited? Is that what they call that? PIL. I remember the record. I heard the single from that record last week in Vancouver twice. It was so weird. I heard it 2 days in a row. It was piped in a restaurant. It must have just been on some sort of loop, but it was funny to hear it 2 days in a row. But it's Steve Vai playing the solo on it. It's amazing. I never really noticed it before. I knew the song, and then I'd never paid attention to the Vai's part. It was so cool. Really good. You should have Neil Schoen or Lukather on the show. I would love to. I'm working on someone else right now, and it's been hard to reach, but I really want to make it happen. So let's see what happens. So who was your primary instructor, GIT? Tom Kolb. No. Nick, totally forgetting his last name as I get older. Nick, who am I thinking of? Nick Nolan was my private instructor, but Tom Kolb was like, I did some stuff with him too, and I can't remember what each guy's role was. Nick was the guy I would go to every week, but Tom I went to for like exams and things at the end of the year. But anyway, both those guys, both great guitar players, by the way. And yeah, terrific. Can you recommend an alternative to NAMM, GitCon, Music Mess? Well, there isn't really they're different things, The Sweetwater has their Gear Fest, that they do in June. That's similar to GitCon. It's like those are more. It's also similar to NAMM, I guess. It's sort of trade showy where manufacturers go and stuff. But I don't know if it's public this year, so I'm not sure. There's the Sweetwater thingamajig. Thomann has things that they do. The Thomann thing that I went to that was similar to GitCon a few years ago. That was really fun, but that was not a public thing. It's a bunch of YouTubers go there basically, and musicians, and we all make videos and stuff and release them. NAMM is happening this year, but we'll see what it's like. It's going to be in June. See if it comes back. I don't know. Talked about it. We just got to let it happen. See if it's depressing or if it actually is good this year. I'm just not sure. Yeah. Okay. What else we got here? Richard got a Pariah Pasadena pickup for his guitar. That's the kind of 9K 78 style Van Halen-esque pickup. Okay. A couple more super chats up there. Thank you guys so much. Cup of Noodles has got to leave. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. I really dig the big Bogner Blue pedal. I used it for years on my pedal board. It's really good. What's the longest you've waited for a piece of gear? I've given things to like Mod and stuff to John Sir, and he's still got them, and it was 10 years ago. I give him crap about it. I'm like, don't even give it back. I like teasing you about it. Like, I don't even want it back. I want to bother you about it in another 10 years. I joke with him. But By waiting, you mean like I ordered something and then I remember getting a set of the original, the Timbuckers. They were like a PAF style pickup that a fella made in his garage. I was on a waiting list for like 2 or 3 years for those, and I finally got them. I have no idea what happened to them. They were taken out of a guitar on tour that I had, and they just disappeared. And I don't know where they are now. It sucks. It was while I was with Chris Cornell, and I don't know what happened to them. I had a tech that switched them, and I don't know where they got put. Like gear comes back from tour and stuff. It's like, is it in this box? Is it in this drawer? And I just couldn't find them. I looked for them and I never could find them. But anyways, waited for years and now I don't know where they are. Yeah. Okay. What else? Chris was more Jimmy Page and Kim was more Tony Iommi. That's pretty good. I think, you're pretty spot on there, Alan, if it's totally true. Stealth Parrot says the late show you did with Tony Cornell was amazing. She has a lovely voice. She does, doesn't she? Sings beautifully. She's great. Hope she, wants to keep doing it. Let's see what happens. She's awesome. Let's see. As a drummer, Matt Cameron used to aggravate me when I tried to play Soundgarden songs because he had this off-time syncopated thing he was playing difficult yet awesome. Matt is like an amazing drummer. I always said like during the 90s, the guitar playing went away from shred and solo. I mean, you couldn't even play solos really. It was like, I guess Kim played psychedelic solos for sure, but the shred thing went away and the guitar chops thing went away. It was more about writing songs and riffs and things like that. But the drummers of the era, the drum geekiness never went away. You had Jimmy Chamberlin, you had Matt Cameron, just like so many good drummers of that era that were, Tool came out of that era, Danny Carey. I mean, it was like the drum shredding never, those guys were still all technical, working on their chops and doing crazy stuff. I mean, listen to the drums in Jesus Christ Pose, it's like, it's bonkers, Of course, Dave Grohl, who's one of my favorite drummers. I mean, just his explosive, playing the right thing for the song thing is unparalleled. I think we don't give him enough credit of being, for being such a monster, killer drummer, just so good. Okay, some more super chats here, guys. I got Furfly FF338 for $170. Great bones, frets, acoustic resonance, playability. Pickups are 14K, dark and woolly. Which Thornbuckers or other pickup would you suggest to get to 335 territory? Just the Thornbucker set. That's it. The 14K dark and woolly. It's going to totally clear that. You're going to get a nice clear sound. Balanced in all three positions. So that's what we did it for. Is Superior Drummer worth it over Easy Drummer? Is it much more complicated? It's not. It's more complicated, but it makes sense. It's not really that much more difficult or anything like that. So I would, if you enjoy Easy Drummer and you're like, I want to go one step further as far as like having more mixer control, more kits, just maybe a little bit more realism and stuff, then it's worth it, I think. Back to Thornbuckers in the super chat there, Javier. Thanks, man. I've been wanting to try the bridge with my Tom Anderson SSH. The singles are true vintage level. The current bridge is medium hot output. The body's alder. Do I go plus or normal? Go plus. Go plus. Yeah. I wouldn't even call my pickup medium hot. I'd call it still vintage output. So it's going to be not quite as hot as probably what you've got in there now, but maybe sweeter. A little more tone maybe, and it should bounce really nice with those singles. Yeah, that Germino is gorgeous. It really is pretty. I mean, we all like a red Marshall, don't we? Any recommendations for a reliable flight case, specifically one that can transport 2 guitars in one enclosure? Okay, what I would recommend, and it's going to be big, but if you want a flight case to do this, get one of the SKB generic I series. It's very big. It's got 4 latches in the front, 2 down each side. It's this deep, and it's big. But get the generic one, and then you can either go the route of DIY. It comes with foam on the inside that you can cut out into the shape you want. I didn't do that. I took mine to A&S Case in LA, and I had them custom do it for me, the inside plush with, all the padding and the cutout for my Destroyer, my Ibanez, because I wanted to fly it. And it's really hard to get an Explorer case that's a road case. So, that's commercially available, like easy to get, right? You can get Les Paul ones these days and Strat ones all day long, but and they make I series cases. So they didn't make an I series, so I got the big old generic one. It's big. It's really big, but you want your guitars to be protected, So go that route. It cost about $300 to have it done. You could do it yourself, like I say, with the foam that it comes with, but I just didn't want to do X-Acto knives or whatever, cutting out all the stuff. I just didn't want to deal with that. So I had them do it, put a nice pocket in there and everything. Check that out, the I series generic, and then you can cut it out for your 2 guitars, going one way and one going the other way. And it should fit fine in that case with a PRS and a Strat. I would think you can configure it with the 2 guitars. Like I say, it'll be big and a little unruly, but it'll be flyable as oversized baggage, I think, and safe. That's my recommendation. The other thing you could do is just have A&S, by the way, custom make you a case, without buying an I series. Weigh it out. Do both options. Call them and say, can you do a dual guitar flight case, lightweight but really good? They'd be able to do that. Maybe the I series, I just like them, the molded stuff, and they gave me a really good deal on the case through their artist program or whatever. So that wasn't, but I still had to pay $300 to do the whole case. And then it's got the handle and wheels on the end, so you can roll it. So that's always extra with something like an A&S or Annual or whatever you go to. But anyways, okay. Richard says, just want to say thank you. Thanks, man. Thanks for being here. I appreciate that. You've given so much to all us gear geeks. I love being here every week. So thank you. Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Oh, wow. There's some spam in the chat. Best cams. Adult dating site. Just as soon as Ben goes away. That's okay, Ben. We love you. An error happened. It's not letting me block it. Are you serious right now? Oh, man. Put user in timeout. Let's try that. Where's Ben? People are asking. Spam alert. Captor X, what are your thoughts on use in live situations? Your Dyna IR pack would be a must. I like the Captor. I've got it right here. I've been using it because I got one when I did my Dyna IR pack. So it's one of the boxes that I can use now on the sends from my amp switcher. It's really good. I think it's a great box. I think the aux is great. I think the SUR is great. The SUR is my favorite as far as a really accurate load, that reactive load, that where the amp responds and all that the same as when it's into a cab. I think the Captor is great. I don't think it's as. I think the SUR is probably. I'm not talking crap here or anything like that, but I think the SUR is a little more like this is just the case, a little more overbuilt, right? So if I was running a 100-watt head that can, an old Marshall or something that can peak out at 120, watts, something like that, I would want to use the SUR with that. If you're running an amp on 10 kind of stuff, but if you're using a 50-watt head or an 80-watt head, 100-watt head, but you're not like diming it all the time, you should be okay with your Captor, But it's just something to be aware of, and I use it. I've got it here, and I use it all the time. So. I enjoy my, Ben already timed out him when I saw him there or blocked him. Okay, I see what happened. And Ben says, I leave for 2 minutes to pee, and that happens. It's true, you were here the whole time, then see what happens. Sorry, Ben, we love you. Yeah. Okay. What time is it? It's 1:39. I guess it's almost time to go, guys. I've been here for 2 hours and about 30 seconds. So, but I'm going to hang for another 5-10 minutes. May I buy you a coffee? Absolutely, Stealth Barrett. I appreciate that. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Naive Steve says, anybody get the number of the campsite? Oh, man. Oh, man. It's funny. It's just the world we live in now. It is what it is. Okay, I'm all the way down at the bottom of the chat, and what do we got here? Let's see. Sure, 535 or West Tone. Are these in-ear monitors? Kind of like you're asking about their single driver, kind of the basic in-ears. Is that what that is there, Sasha Boo Boo? The Shures seem good. I know people that have gotten them. They seem happy with them. I've used them as generics before when I've been somewhere and then not had my own in-ears, and I've had to, they sound fine, I think. West Tone, I've never. Oh no, my first set of in-ears was West Tone. Actually, they were molds though. This is going back 20 years though, so I don't really remember them that well. I'd have to. I don't know. So a few people are recommending the West Tones, but I think the Shures are just kind of easily available. I mean, you can go to Guitar Center and get them. So it's like they're around and they're easily available. Probably, I mean, maybe the best West Tones probably. If they're triple driver, like somebody said, they're going to be a little superior, More drivers doesn't always mean better sound, though. I got to say that. So when it comes to in-ear monitors. So excellent show as always. Thank you so much, Peter. Videos this week. I should be making a video for that very famous guitar that I was talking about a couple weeks ago. This week, I didn't connect with the person that owns it this week, so hopefully that happens. Or I didn't connect last week with that person. So hopefully this week I get it in my hands. I can get a video out by the end of the week for that. But I've got a whole bunch to do. I have some, let me see, VS audio here. I've got this Jobby. This is an amp and with 2 notes compatible. The Sheriff from Victory. This is the Marshall-y kind of one. It's got a Class D amp in it, and it's like a preamp with a Class D amp in there as well. I've got that to do. I've got some other stuff that I can't really talk about yet. What's this? Oh yeah, something from Source Audio that's coming. But these are spaced out through May. Some different things. So. The main one I want to get done. Oh wow, super chat's coming in. The main one I want to get done this week is the video for the guitar that's crazy. So that should be coming. The Randy Rhoads guitar. That was supposedly the 3rd prototype that's going to Randy. So I'm supposed to get that video done this week. So I hope that happens. We will see. You guys with all your super chats, thank you so much. Steve, thank you, man. Appreciate that. You guys are too kind, honestly. It's really, really kind. And this helps out with, it is time for more coffee beans around here. So we're going to do it now. Go straight to the store. Recently got a new Sir Standard mahogany, says G. Wayne. Thank you for your super chat. Really appreciate it. Let's see. You've got mahogany, maple neck, ebony board, HSS with a Thornbucker Plus bridge. It is the best humbucker I've heard in an S-style guitar. Thanks, man. Can't beat that. I'm really glad you're happy. We hear so many good things from people about them, and that just makes me stoked. It's like to know that people are able to get their tones with the work that we're doing. I love that stuff. So, did you say ANS for the custom? A and S. So A and S case in Los Angeles. Great company for getting custom road cases done. So you can check them out. There's lots of places to do it. There's a company called Dragon Cases years ago I used to like here too, and I think they're still here. So you can look at Dragon as well. I think that Victory amp is the one Danish Pete really likes. Well, I'll look forward to plugging it in. I'm probably going to do that in a little bit here later today. And I don't know how it integrates exactly with 2 notes stuff, but I will use my cab pack for the video, of course. So why not? Got to do that. Did I miss? Yes, here's some super chats I missed. I thought I missed some. Deshaun, what are the differences between your pickup set and other non-metal pickups that Sir sells? Well, they don't make anything else with an offset, I don't think. So like, an SSH has an Alico 5 magnet and it's got matched coils. when you mismatch the coil and then you put an Alnico 4 in it, you get a completely different sound. So my pickups don't sound like SSH, or sorry, SSV, single screw vintage. It means it's got a slug coil and a screw coil vintage output. So that's their SSV. So that would be the next closest sort of PAF-y thing. But, you know, it's a different sounding pickup to my pickup, the SSV. Yeah. You've got a classic Les Paul with the 661Ts. Well, I don't know those pickups, sorry. But, you know, if you want a true PAF kind of thing, I think my pickups are the closest thing that I think Sir makes for sure. You know, a lot of people's, you know, their modern take on a PAF, it's just going to be just down to the output. But beyond that, they're maybe not that PAF-y, you know. You know, when you get down to the, and my pickups might differ. You know, it's like it's more about the fact that there was an inconsistency. I think that's what I like about the mismatch. It's slightly mismatched coil can give you just like this cool character that's like a little more open, a little more single coil. I like it. I still like match pickups too, but when you consider like the old 57 Classic, you know, basically a PAF Alnico 2 magnet. They were designed by Tom Holmes, but they're a match coil. And they have this kind of smoothness to them. There's a smooth humbucker thing. They don't sound like a single coil, you know. I think my neck pickup, you could probably fool somebody into thinking it's a single coil. Now, if you tap it, you're like, oh, there's the single coil sound. But the Thornbucker neck, I mean, am I wrong? Anybody out there that's got them, you know, you dial in enough high end on the amp and stuff, and then play some Hendrix on it or something, and it sounds kind of Hendrixy. It's like that's kind of what I like. So, you know, out of my PAF style pickups, you know. So and we can attribute that to kind of low wind and, you know, the wind itself, like the low wind with the wind being a mismatch. Yeah. Okay. What else? Let's see. Arthur says, I found out about Vinnie Vincent's Jackson V guitar was one that was supposed to go to Randy, but it was like number 3 or 4. Maybe that's number 4, because I think the one that this fellow I know has is number 3. So yeah, maybe Vinnie's was pink, wasn't it? You know, pink one. Yep. All right. Well, guys, I guess I'll split and I'll go and get a lunch, and then I'll come back here and work. Is it worth it to have a roasted maple neck? I like roasted a lot. I think it makes the necks very stable. I don't know if it changes the sound, but I do think there's a stability thing. You don't have to tweak them very much. They never twist. I've never seen one with a twist, that's for sure. They're stable. They look cool when they're roasted, I think. I like regular looking maple necks too, but I like the look of roasted. And I just feel like it definitely seems to affect the stability, where they, you know, you don't need stabilizing rods and all that stuff in it. You know, you roast them, they seem stable. They don't twist. They don't, you know, you get less truss rod adjustments and stuff. So it's always nice. Jeff says that Thornbucker saved his Les Paul Classic from going on eBay. That's awesome. Ben Coombs says, great show. And thank you, sir. And with that, I think I will go, and I will see you guys. Ben's live tonight. He says 8 p.m. Eastern on his YouTube channel. I will see you guys next week. I'll try and get some more videos done this week, but we should see hopefully the video for that Randy guitar, as well as for this Sheriff Victory pedal amp and some other stuff coming this week. If I got those two done, I'd be pretty happy, but I want to do more than that. So we shall see. Everybody, thanks for your super chats as well. You guys are so cool, you know, for being here each week. Peace. Over and out, everybody. Take care.